Lauren, she's 26 years old, married to Jeremiah, who's one of our worship leaders, sings on Sunday occasionally. And she is somebody that we have learned so much from. She's taught us so much. And then we have a 24-year-old son. His name is Nick, and he just recently moved back here from Hawaii. He's living with us again, so let me just tell you, they may move out, but they can come right back. Okay? It's like the boomerang effect. You're thinking, man, we got the house empty, we're ready to go. No, they come back, and they come back around. But it gives us a second opportunity to be great parents, right? To continue to work on our game. And both of them have taught us a lot. Lauren is a faithful disciple. Nick is on a journey to come back to being a faithful disciple. And we believe that. But we're learning during this season that he's been discovering and learning and trying to figure things out for himself. So I want to share that with you tonight. I want to just give you a preface. Parenting is very emotional. Parenting is very emotional. What it means is there's moments where it's really, really high, it's awesome, and then it could challenge you to the depths of your core, and it can bring you as low as you've ever been in your life. And it's so important because it's so emotional, you need people around you. You need a support system around you to be a great parent. And we have been the beneficiaries of that still. We've got people around us that are helping us, that are guiding us. She needs a microphone. And I'm very thankful for all the people that have gotten us this far, but I still have people in my life that are helping us. So we're going to move forward. What is parenting all about? What's the goal of parenting? What is God's vision for parenting? Malachi chapter 2, verse 15 says, "Has not the one God made you? You belong to Him in body and in spirit. And what does the one God seek? Godly offspring." If you're a parent, and teenagers, one day you will be a parent. And if you believe in God, you're going to look up and you're going to say, "So God, what am I going to do with these kids?" He wants you to raise them and teach them to know Him, to be godly children, to make the world a better place. That is the goal of parenting. I want to raise them to know God. What is a godly offspring? Children who feel accountable to God. They believe in God and they know who put them here. Not you as the parent, but they go a little further and they see, hey, you know who put me here? God did. And I'm accountable to Him. And that we will teach our children to seek a relationship with Him. The most important thing we can do while we're here on earth is have a relationship with God. Because everything else is fleeting. Everything else is short-lived. But our relationship with God is eternal. And that's what we want to pass on to our children. So I want to start out with these ideas. Parenting objectives. What is the objective of parenting? Okay? And we're going to give you a lot of big pictures. And I encourage you to write some of these down or type them into your device. Because you want to remember these things when you're going through, the wind is blowing and the rain is pouring and it's so emotional. You're going, I don't even know what I'm doing as a parent. And you can come back to this center point and go, okay, let me reset. This is what I'm supposed to be doing as a parent. The objective of parent is children who want to be with us and with each other when they don't have to. And thinking about that, we want our children to grow up in relationship. In other words, they don't have to be with us. They want to be with us. They don't have to be with their siblings, but they want to be with their siblings. And that's the environment that we want to create as parents. And that is the greatest test because as you know in our world today, we talk about parenting and how many families whose siblings, they don't speak with each other. Mom doesn't speak with the daughter. The daughter doesn't speak to the sister. The brother doesn't speak to the brother. And it's just chaos. It's a mess. That's like the ultimate failure of parenting. So the objective is we want our kids to love us and to love each other and to want to be together and to love their Father in heaven who brings it all together. So we'll start out looking at a couple of passages. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 17. Discipline your children, and they will give you peace. They will bring you the delights you desire. This whole idea of discipline, what comes to mind? Let me get some of the teens involved. When you hear discipline, what do you think? What's the first thing, Gary? Thank you so much for being urgent volunteer. Gary, what does discipline mean to you? Rules. Is Dave and Margie here? Are you guys here? Okay, you got that. All right. Anybody else in the teens? Rules. Anybody else? Sebastian, you got something for me? What does discipline mean to you? Obey your parents. All right. Yes. Discomfort. Okay. No, Gary, you only get one answer. Okay. Yes. The belt? This is important. Okay, this is important. As a teenager, hear this, as a teenager, that's what it meant to me. But as a parent, it's very important that we help our children understand what this word means. This word means training. It means training. Discipline means training. What do they teach young soldiers when they come in boot camp? What do? They train them. Why are they training them? Because there's a very high likelihood they're going to need that training when they go into battle. So whatever it is, if you look a little further down the road, that this training that you're going to receive from your parents, and parents, you're going to give your children, you're going to train them so that they can go into life prepared for what life is going to bring. Because let me tell you about life. It'll chew you up and spit you out if you're not ready for it. The world out there is brutal. And there's no mercy. So we've got to prepare our children to think right, to be trained for that, so they can make good decisions and know that if I make bad decisions, there's going to be consequences. And as a parent, when you see your kids grow up and they're doing good, one of my goals now as a son of my dad and mom, I want to bring them peace. I want to bring them delight. And guess what? Even though I took them through some really hard times as a teenager and as a young adult, today, I bring them delight. I bring them peace. And they write it to me on a card. And they say, thank you for being a blessing to us. And I give it right back to them. You trained me. You helped me. You weren't perfect, but you got me to where I am. All right, so we're going to talk about, and I'm going to give Laura a chance to talk about the stages of parenting. This is really important. Another item you should write down. And these are ages, the ages 1 to 5. What is the overarching mentality of stage 1? Discipline. Or in other words, training. Training, Gary. Okay? Not training, but that's the idea. And then 5 to 12 is training. Okay? We're training them, preparing them. 12 to 18 years old, you take the form of a coach. Think about a sideline, and they're on the field. And now you're coaching them. And then 18 and above, it's friendship. It's friendship. So Laura's going to break these down and explain kind of the elements of each stage.
Good evening. It's awesome to be with you. And so I'm going to just describe each stage, practically speaking. So 0 to 5, that is the age when you want to give consequences quickly because their children are little and they tend to forget. The tendency for many of us when the 0 to 5 is that we can hesitate or ignore a behavior in that age because they're so cute. And you can just pick them up and move them if they get out of hand. But we don't. It's not cute when they're being disobedient. So that's the stage when you want to be quick to respond and help them see the consequences. When would you want to do that? When they hurt another child? When they're having a fit of rage or a tantrum? Or when they're just being rebellious, when you see that rebellion starting? So one thing I've seen, you may have seen this in the supermarket, there's moms that just like the child's up in the air and she's like, come on, let's go, and they're picking them up, And when you have small children, you have to slow down to be able to discipline them. Life has to slow down. In those years, you have to bend down and get to their level, look them in the eyes, hold their little hands, and let them know what you want them to do. It's not like on the fly, doesn't work with little children. You need to and I see many parents just kind of, not all over the place, and I've done it myself. And I do agree with Peter, we're not perfect, we're sharing what we've learned and what not to do and what to do. So, but anyway, so just get down to their level, that's really important. Two things are really important in this stage. Schedule is important. Schedule equals security to little children. Bedtime rituals like consistency, read a story, pray, connect, let them fall asleep in a peaceful way is really important. Be prepared at this stage also. So schedule is important and be prepared. Don't exasperate them. We are all for sacrifice. There's sacrifice involved with little children. Our children would go to midweek in Mexico City and they would get home at 11 o'clock at night. A lot of times because we'd travel across the city and their bus left early in the morning at like 7 a.m. But they would take naps the day before, naps the day after, but it really helped them to be it was amazing to see them. If I was prepared in helping them prepare for those nights, they did great. They did really well. So things like, if you're not prepared, you have no change of clothes and they do popo everywhere, or you bring them and they have no stroller and they're exhausted and they're running all over the place, miserable, or it's just an encouragement to be sensitive at that age and be gentle but it's very important to train. Second stage is training. 5 to 11, they're discovering the why. They're discovering consistency on our part is really crucial. They're looking at you, and we have to explain the why, but we also have to model the why. It's if you're two different people, one at church and one at home, they notice, big time. If you criticize the church on the way home in the car, they caught it, they got it. What it does for little children and children in this age, 5 to 11, is it breeds a lack of reverence for God when they hear you criticizing or gossiping or, just being negative, because really deep in their heart, they're disappointed because they were about to put their hope in God and now they're seeing you be negative. The church is not positive, and I have done it in the ministry.
It's not perfect.
We're not perfect. The church is not perfect. We have sinned in this way. That's why I have such a deep conviction. In the ministry, my daughter knew how to answer more problems than I did. She heard so many sometimes. She would say, oh, I know what you do in that situation, or just overhearing stuff. So you have to be really careful. But they do get disappointed if they see you. It becomes confusing to them. So this is an age to be careful, be patient, be gentle, not harsh. Why are you harsh and disciplined? Does anyone know? Why do we get harsh as parents? Anyone? Teens, you know why why parents get harsh? Because I'll give you the answer if you no idea.
Somebody said something.
Yes, the one. Yes. I'm not sure.
What?
Uh-huh. Amen.
Okay, but why?
Anyway.
But why harsh?
Okay,
You don't
Mark.
understand what harsh means? It means excessive anger. Harsh.
ahead,
Why
Mark.
are parents harsh?
Margie. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. Michael.
Mike?
Uh-huh.
Impatient.
Yes.
Eric.
Alex.
Eric.
Alex. Oh, okay. Alex, what were you going to say? Frustration. All of those are true. The one that I thought of most is that you waited so long to discipline. You waited so long that you are now exasperated, so you become harsh. So the encouragement is to do it when you see it, and the counting 1, 2, 3 is not effective. You need to do it, but we need to be, connect with the child so that we can discipline them in a timely manner at whatever age. In the coaching years, 12 to 17, that's what Peter explained. We need to step back, ask more questions, resist the temptation to bail them out. I was a teen leader in Boston, and the first teen that I went to pick up, my first day on the job as a teen leader, her mother is a disciple there. She was bringing her breakfast on a silver tray down to her room, right? And I was like, wow. Needless to say, the girl's like, I'm not getting up out of bed and I'm not going to church. I'm like, okay. So as disciple moms, and I have done this, my son even came back and said, Mom, you made it too easy for me. You were so serving. I was like, So as disciple moms, we tend to want to bail them out all the time. Resist the temptation to bail them out. And be serving is great, but we can't overdo it. My dad, we have very different parenting styles. My dad was like, oh, you want a car? Start saving up. Peter got a car when he graduated from college, we have very different. He's the youngest of 5, I'm the oldest. It was very different. But anyway, so emphasize that you're on the same team at the coaching stage and help them. When they get out of bounds, you want to call them back in off the field and help them. But you don't want to have an adversarial relationship. And lastly, we're in this stage now, 18 plus, the friendship stage. This is when we need to be supportive, encouraging. My daughter has said to me, Mom, can you just be supportive right now? And I'm like, okay, yes. So supportive, encouraging, listen, less advice, and keep the emotional connection. It's extremely important at this stage, at every stage, really.
So looking at these stages, here's one of the things that can happen. You didn't discipline in the first 5 years, so you try to make up for it 5 through 12. Bad idea. You try to do the training 12 through 18 because you didn't do it late when you were supposed to do it. Bad idea. These are all very, very important times where you've got to do it in the right slot. And if you miss something in the beginning, the discipline, you're going to have to make up for it, but you're going to have to make up for it in training, not in discipline. And let me just say this to young parents. I know I got some young parents in the room, little babies. Studies have shown us the first 3 years of a child's life are some of the most vital learning experiences. It's where your brain and your emotions develop. All the millions and millions upon connections that form in the brain happen in that goo-goo and gaga period of a child's life. And so it's so important, dads, to even interact with babies, to hold the babies, talk to the babies. Even in the womb, studies have shown that they respond when you talk to them in the womb. So those are vital times. Okay, so moving forward, the 3 Ds of parenting. It's real important not to have a lot of rules as parents. These were the 3 Ds of parenting for us. Things where we would go, not acceptable at any stage. Number 1 was disobedience. Okay? Rules are there, and it's really important to explain the why behind everything. Rules exist to protect you. They're there to help you. They're there to be there for you. Disrespect was another one. We didn't allow it. There were consequences for breaking each one of these. And then number 3 was dishonesty. And we're going to talk about this in the next couple of slides, but it's real important to understand how these 3 Ds affect what you're trying to create in their family, what they're going to be creating later. So this is where we would draw the line. Now, for the teens, I want to say this. This is really important. When parents have to uphold these 3 Ds, you go, dang, why can't it just be 1 D? Okay? Why 3? I want you to think in your schools, the worst behaved child or student or the kid that's in trouble, the girl that's in trouble all the time. They're getting kicked out of school. They're always going down to the office and you're going, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm not him. Do you know why that kid is the way he is? Because his parents are not involved. His or her parents are not involved. So if you have parents that are holding the line on this stuff for you, and they're all up in your business, saying, hey, you gotta be what you need to be, guess what? You are some of the most blessed children and teenagers on earth, because they're protecting you, they're guiding you, and they're helping you to become successful adults later on. So pay attention when you're in school, and always you can see the connection with bad parenting and not well-behaved teenagers. Okay, so moving forward. Second point I want to talk about, we talked about the stages. Second one is emphasize honor over avoiding punishment. I was one of those kids in school where I figure the rules out and avoid punishment. Okay, I had 4 older brothers and sisters, 2 brothers, 2 sisters. I watched them get the belt. Yes, we got the belt in our household. So I figured it out pretty easy, pretty quick. If you don't want the belt, don't do that. Okay, don't do this. But I didn't understand what honor meant. So I was just trying to get out of discipline and get out of trouble, and I would do it in school. But guess what happened when I became a teenager? I didn't understand what honor is. And so I would dishonor my mom. I would dishonor my dad. I would dishonor my teachers. And it was shameful. It was shameful. And there were times where my parents were ashamed of me as how I acted, how I behaved. And it's all because I didn't get taught this whole idea of honor. Honor is to uphold. Okay, and the verse talks about this in Ephesians, and he's referring to the Old Testament passage. Ephesians 6, verse 2 and 3, it says, honor your father and mother. Why? Which is the first commandment with the promise, so that it may go well. With who? You. So why should I honor my parents? Why should I teach my children to honor adults and mom and dad? Why? So it can go well with them. See, it's going to be a boomerang effect that's going to come around and bless you or curse you. If you treat your mom with dishonor, guess how you're going to treat your wife, your girlfriend? If you treat your dad, guess how you're going to treat a police officer? And they're going to lock you up, and you're going to get in trouble. Okay? You're going to treat a boss with disrespect and dishonor, and guess what? You'll get fired. You'll lose your job. So it's so important. There'll be peace when you understand the role of honor, and you will enjoy, and here's the promise from God, you're going to enjoy a long life. I mean, how many of us want to die early? No. But it's all tied into this verse. And this is a very famous verse, and I want to put it in perspective. Proverbs 13, verse 24, and this is all where the belt came from. Whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. I want to bring up Anthony and Yvonne because they are incredible parents, but they've adopted their children, and they've adopted their children from the county of San Bernardino. If they use a rod, or if they use a spoon, or if they use a belt, guess what can happen if the county finds out about it? They can lose their children. And some of you were raised in environments where, spoons and belts and cords, electric, all kinds of crazy stuff happened. And that was abuse. That was abuse. All right? It was not good. And so you've been affected by that, so now you have to figure out a different way, as Anthony and Yvonne do. They have to figure out a different way to still do the same thing. And that's what this verse is talking about. Discipline your children. You got to figure out what's going to work in your house. Now, can I be honest with you? What worked in our house? When they were little, a wooden spoon. And they make these really big ones in Mexico. Okay? I'm just being totally transparent. All right? And we use that on their bum, okay, on their butt. With me? And so for some reason, God made the butt with some padding. Okay? There's some cushion back there. And we used it. But we were very, very careful. Listen, this is so important. That the children knew we're doing this out of love. And we were very careful not to cross a line and leave a mark. If you know what I mean by a mark, a bruise. Okay? And it has to be like a sandwich. You love them on the front end, and you love them on the back end. See, now I want to tell you about my experience. I got the belt, and my dad didn't always do with the sandwich. Okay? I got it straight up, and it was hard. But today, I'm 56 years old, and I look back at that time and I go, thank you, Dad. Thank you that you love me enough. But it's very important today, you got to be very, very careful about how you discipline your children. Okay? Because we carry a reputation in the communities that we're a part of. It's not illegal. Corporal punishment is not illegal in the state of California. It's not going to be frowned upon. I mean, it might be frowned upon, but it's not illegal. Because of, we have our faith and we stand up for the scriptures. But I know every family has their own situations, their history, their background, and even the environment that they're raising their children. But the point here of this verse is, do not avoid disciplining your children because you will regret it later. It's so important to discipline your children. I'm going to let Laura share a little bit about
just
that.
As far as honor is a deeper, we got some of this material. This is a combination tonight of our experience, but we also did some research. Andy Stanley, he did an amazing parenting class. We got some information, the stages of parenting from that. But the honor means a deeper motivation. You know, we talk a lot about the heart. So it means, in other words, if you want to honor God and you want to honor each other, the children and children honoring their parents, it's a higher motivation than just, okay, I'm just going to obey to just get you off my back. You know, no, it's not about just obeying. It's about a heart desire. I want to love God. I want to love you. So we want that for our children. We want to emphasize honoring God and honoring each other. Just one thing about this, it's very important to be unified as spouses. That was very difficult for Peter and I in our probably 30 years, probably the whole time. It's very difficult, all of our parenting years, because of our differences. We had abuse. In my home, there was abuse, so it was hard. I didn't want to spank. But I want to tell you just one thing about spanking. We would take them to our room. We would explain, you've disobeyed, and so now we're going to spank you. And then it would end. We would say, I forgive you. You forgive, we forgive you. And we would hug and kiss, and we would pray. And that was the end of the discipline, ended with the prayer. God, we love, let's say it was Lauren. I don't want one of our, Lauren, God, we love Lauren so much, and we don't want to have to discipline her, but we are because we love you, and we want her to be close to you. And we would, amen. And sometimes it was really hard. It was hard sometimes, because sometimes it took a couple of times. Not with Lauren, of course, but with one of them. I won't mention any names.
I'm glad she's not here tonight.
I don't know if she's here. But anyway, so wives, we need to submit to our husband. If there's a difference in opinion, you need to submit to your husband's leadership so that you're unified. And wives, if you have a problem, if you're, like Peter sometimes was very strong, and I had to get advice. I got advice from John Mannell, from Joe Newfield, because I was not in agreement 100% at times. But the good thing is, as a disciple, you can get advice. So if you're not unified and you've tried to get unified, get advice from someone else. My kids used to even say, don't you want to go get advice about this? That's what they would tell us. They would say, I think you should go talk to John Mannell about this. Just hold on with the spoon for a minute. I'm like, okay. So anyway, get advice if you're not unified, but they will play you against one another, right? We know how it is. Go ask your mother. No,
Who's the soft one?
She said no, so I'm going to go ask or vice versa. So, and single parents, for the single parents, you're not alone. You have the family of believers. God is with you, and you can get advice. So you're not alone in it. And I know many people are single parents now. So that's all. As far as
as far as the unity and the brothers in the room, I want to say this to you because it's very important that you listen to your wife. Because sometimes when you're in the moment of discipline, you can't see yourself. You could be acting out of anger, and you don't see it. And she can call it and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. And Laura would do this sometimes. She'd say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Can we go talk here in a minute? And she'd say, I think you're a little too upset. So this might not be the best time to bring about this discipline. Okay? And so it's very important that you're a team in raising your children.
Yeah.
Okay? Her background is there for a reason. My background is there for a reason. And if we combine them both, it can be a beautiful thing. Amen. It can be a powerful thing. So we only got 3 points, so don't worry. And this is point number 3. This is really important, the overarching idea behind all these things that we've talked about so far. Emphasize the reestablishing of relationships. When you break a rule, when you cross a line, when you do something that's out of bounds, it breaks a relationship. Remember the 3 Ds? Can you guys tell me what the 3 Ds are? Exactly. What do the 3 Ds do to relationships?
They break them.
And it works as adults. If I'm deceitful with Laura, if I'm dishonest, if I dishonor her, okay, how's that going to affect our relationship? It's going to break it. It's going to create a wall. It's going to affect that relationship. So it's really important for when we're parenting, we explain our children need to know why rules exist to protect the relationship. But when you've broken the relationship, what do you need to do? You need to reestablish the relationship. And you know what that means? Here's some really, really powerful 2 words. I'm sorry. Can you go ahead and say it to your neighbor? Go ahead and say it.
I'm sorry.
Omar, por favor, dile, perdóname. Those are very, very powerful words. Why? Because by saying you're sorry, you're reestablishing the relationship. You're taking responsibility for how I've hurt you. Okay, as parents, can I go ahead and tell you? There were many times I had to apologize to my children because I was the offender. I was the one who was frustrated. I was the one who disrespected Laura in front of them because I was upset. And so I had to turn to them and say, what I just did was not good for our relationship and for our family. I'm sorry to you. And if I crossed a line with my children, if I was a bad example, most famous one, I got to tell you guys about this story because it was one of my worst moments as a parent. We were on vacation in Florida with my whole family. It was like a family reunion. And I would say Nick was at his pinnacle of defiance, disobedience, disrespect. He was out there. And so my mom was kind of, and she was 82 years old at the time. And she told him, the way you look, we're going out to dinner, the way you look is horrific. Right? She was straight up, and my mom was like that. She could be very, very direct. And he spoke back to her. And that was strike number 1. Okay, and I'm standing there, and I'm like, hey, watch it. Because you disrespect your mom, you disrespect me. You disrespect my mom, you disrespect God, me. And it set me off. And so we're driving to the restaurant, and he keeps going, and he keeps going, and he keeps going, and he keeps going. And I got to be honest with you guys. It was my weak moment. I lost it. I lost it. I pulled the car over and I said, let's get out right now. And I confess this to you guys. I confess this as a sin. It was wrong what I did. It was wrong what I did. And we got like this. And Lauren is talking to me, don't do it, don't go there. I was upset. Okay? And it was this close. It was this close. And I regret it. It was one of my worst moments as a parent. And thank God nothing happened. But I'd already crossed the line. In the family reunion, guys, 30 of us, my whole family, I confessed my sin in front of everybody the next day in our church service. And that wasn't a show. I felt really bad. And I wanted my whole family to know I did wrong. Why? Because I broke the relationship. I want one thing more than anything in my life with my son, and that's a relationship. And so as parents, we got to be humble enough. We got to be willing to do the things. Place yourself beneath them. As a parent, think about this. Put yourself beneath your children when you apologize out of humility. Teens, to put yourself beneath your parents and say, you know what, I'm really sorry. Humble yourself. It can feel so vulnerable to do that, but it heals the relationship. It brings about healing, and that's what you want, okay? And all of these things that we're talking about. And then lastly, think about for the Jews that were listening to Jesus. Jesus said this, Mark chapter 12, verse 30. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. And the second is this, love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. Basically, another version says, all the commandments, all 630, hang on these two commandments. What's God's emphasis? Relationship. He wants a relationship with us, and he wants you to have a relationship with him. And when we cross lines, that's what suffers, is the relationship. So that's what we want to focus on in parenting. It's you and me, and it's us and God. And it's you and your sister. It's you and your brother in the relationship. Go ahead.
Just briefly about that. So in life, that's a skill we all need, right? We need to know when you've broken a relationship, how do you restore it? And as Peter shared in the beginning, there are many family members, I have some, that they don't know how to do that. People say to me, why hasn't my dad apologized? He doesn't know how. He never learned the skill. So we dishonor our children when we don't teach them the skill of how to humble yourself. You put yourself beneath that person, and it heals the relationship. That's how you do it. And why is lying such a big deal? Why is lying so horrible? Because it breaks the relationship. We need to see that. In our family, we've done many things. We've fallen short. But one thing we don't do in our family, we don't sweep things under the rug. We go back, and as far as the unity thing, sometimes we weren't disunified, we weren't unified, we would have to go back and apologize to Lauren or to Nick and say, you know what, we were not unified, but we are so sorry, and please tell us how you feel. We do not sweep things under the rug, we would talk about it, so that we could resolve and be totally 100% restored as a relationship, in the relationship. So one last thing, with older children, you can delay consequences. You can say, this caught me off guard, I don't know what I'm gonna do right now, I need to get advice, or it's okay to delay consequences with older children. Because in the world, if you commit a 3-minute crime, that could cause you 30-year prison term. Or a 5-minute crime in the world could cause you a life of prison, right? So our children need to know, in the world, if we don't discipline them as parents, and I really want to encourage the teens also, it's awesome that you have people that care. Because if you don't get disciplined, the world, my dad used to say this all the time. And Laura, if I don't discipline you, the world will. And the world is going to do it a lot more harshly than I ever would. You know, and so I just want to encourage you that the whole thing of reestablishing the relationship is super important. We can take things away. I want your cell phone. I want your car keys. I want this. And there is a time for that at times. But we need to first make sure we don't avoid restoring the relationship. It's really, really important. So we love you guys very much, and we're very grateful for hearing. And I just want to say one thing. If you have a prodigal child, it's very painful to have a prodigal child. It's a heart-wrenching spiritual battle, and you're grieving the loss of a dream, and you're also grieving their present behavior. So I just want to encourage you, don't give up on any of our children. Don't give up. Keep believing. Psalm 94, verse 9 says, "Does the God who made the ear not hear?" And that scripture encourages me a lot. God made our ear. He hears you when you pray. He is working in your family and in the relationship. Thank you.
Awesome. Last verse. Lamentations chapter 3. And this is the greatest parenting scripture we can find. Because what is parenting? It's trying to be like God in the way we raise children. Lamentations 3 verse 22, it says, "Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. For his compassion never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." I want to say this too for parents. I've seen over the number of years that I've been a pastor and a minister, I've seen some incredible stories of restoration, of families coming back together again. And it's taught me a lesson. Never, never, never give up on your children. Never give up on them coming, because they can tell sometimes if you've given up. But if we're like God in our hearts, that our compassion is never failing, it sends a message to them. And it helps them see in a mirror who God is. I'm going to ask the Casadas to come up. They're going to share with us how to have a family devotional for a few minutes. And Sarita too.
All right, great, good stuff, convicting stuff too, bro. Thank you. For as far as family devotionals, forming good habits, really, spiritual training, and that's really what it's all about. Proverbs 22:6, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and even when he is old, he will not depart from it." We want this to be a normal part of our family life. Family devotionals, consistency. We never miss. We never miss. Every week. Sunday night, 8 p.m., same time, same place. We have a routine. We got candles lit. We do a song out of the old ICOC book, songbook, icebreaker that has to do with the point. We have a scripture, usually one scripture, one point, and prayer, ice cream, and that's a tradition that we have. Simple, short, and fun. And you know it's a good tradition when your children start building their traditions on top of it. You know what they do, one of the traditions that they've been doing is inviting their friends over. We get a lot of YoPro and campus ministry kids that join us as well. And also, after it's about a half an hour's worth. And after our half an hour, mom and dad retire to our room, get ready for the new week coming up. Because it's Sunday before the week gets busy. They get going on card games and board games, and it's almost like a little clubhouse environment. But it's really amazing, and it's a tradition, and it just keeps on just growing. And so we're really fired up that they enjoy it as we do. And I think Sarita's going to share a little about how it impacts her.
Hi. Okay, the way it impacts me for Family Devo is just like I came into a household when I was like 10. Every Sunday we have family devotional, and like it just became a habit to the point just like it's like a normal thing. It's like 7 or 8 o'clock on Sunday. It doesn't matter what you have to be at home, and we get to just learn about God and just like get like just have the whole family there. It's just like way of connecting and like just finding like just way of connecting with our sibling, with our parents, and like building a bond over family devotion, over God, and yeah.
Thank you. And now Brenda's a real brainchild on this. She digs up all the content, puts a lot of it together. She just has a natural teaching ability. And so she's going to share a little about maybe some tips or how you can get this going in your family.
Okay. Well, I'll say you'll probably hear everything you've heard now. You'll get to hear it again. So, but I do remember I've seen other people deliver, kind of this message about family devotionals. I remember Will Neal coming up here a while back, and he was demonstrating the Wind and the Waves devotional, family devotional, and Will is like full of enthusiasm, and he loved it, the whole acting it out and putting it into place. And then I remember the Petersons came up here one time, and they were doing the Knock Knock devotional, right? And so they were demonstrating how you do the Knock Knock devotional. And Josh and Stacy, if you know them, they're like the coolest parents on earth. And so anything that they do just looks amazing. And so, but we're here just like regular people, not like, Will Neal or Josh Peterson or something. Our family devotionals aren't always a slice of Disney or anything. Over the years, to be honest, we've had to put up with like a lot of bad attitudes and bad behavior. And that's just between Al and I. That's not even talking about like what the kids had contributed to it. But, Al was kind of talking about our family devotionals. I bought some props. I usually had a bag with my supplies. We've had a lot of different formats over the years for family devotionals. So the most common one, though, was drawing pictures, okay? Because for some reason, that worked for our family. And so it was really, really easy. He mentioned the songbook. Songs. We did a congregational song. We have a few of those at home. You can still get those on IPI. And then I had placemats. Okay, I had 8 of them. There's 6 in our family, and I had 2 extra in case somebody else came along. And a pad of paper from the dollar store, and then a whole slew of pencils. And that was the most common thing. We'd come in, and maybe I'd say, okay, we're going to draw pictures of, like, if you could decorate your own room and style your own room, what would it look like? And we talk about it and share a picture. And then we talk about how Jesus is in heaven, preparing a room for us. Or maybe it was President's Day weekend. It was draw a picture of a president. And then we'd talk about how God calls us to pray for our leaders. And, it just kind of easy stuff like that. And so we really just went with what worked for our family. And so I don't know that there's a textbook way. There are a lot of materials out there. IPI also has a couple of books called As For Me and My House, and they also have this new thing, this deck of devos. So there's some papers can be handed out, and it has like all these ideas on it that could just maybe spark what could work for your family. It doesn't have to look like anything in particular, but what does your family enjoy and what are they good at? Maybe you guys have a super Taco Tuesday night, and that can be incorporated to your family devo. So I kind of have these 4 things that make something a family devo, 4 things. And one is family. You got to have the family there. You can have more than family, but you can't have less than family. You have to have family. 2, a scripture. I think that's, one of those things. And 3, prayer. And then 4, call it your family devo. So, and these are, again, just ideas, try different things. There are different things for different age groups on this idea list, because, you're going to want to do this as long as family's in the house. And so you never outgrow a need for God, and you never outgrow a need for family. So family devo is always a thing.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Really, really great. Stay up here. Stay up here if you would. Last thought, and we're going to pray, and you're dismissed. As a parent, the days are long. But as a parent, the years are short. It goes by like that. As a parent, when you're in those dark moments and it's difficult and it's challenging and you're hurting inside, remember, those days seem long, but the years are short. And, I actually miss those times with the kids when we have family devotionals. But if you do this right, They're going to have their own family. And they're going to have devotionals of their own. And you as a grandparent, God willing, can be invited to be a part of those devotionals. And what a joy it will be to see the legacy passed down to our children and their children. So let me pray for you. Really glad you're here. If you know some people that weren't here tonight, we recorded it. But we really love for you to share what you've learned in your small groups about tonight. And going ahead and saying, here's what I want to work on. Here's what I think really hit me in the lesson.